I'm joined now by the Deputy Leader of the National Party, David Littleproud. David, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Scott Morrison campaigned for the Marshall government, and according to Senator Wong today, research showed that 1 in 2 South Australians were less likely to vote for Stephen Marshall when they were reminded that he and the PM were of the same party. Was the Prime Minister partly responsible for yesterday's loss, do you think?
No, and that's a long bow to draw by Penny Wong. The reality is this: it was fought on local issues around health, even V8 supercars. But I think there is a lesson for us federally, is that you just can't rest on what you've achieved over your term of government. It's actually what you're going to do for people. That's what I think people are now looking for. Yes, they've given us a tick for what we've been able to achieve in keeping them safe, keeping the economy stronger than it ever has before. But they want to know what's in it for them. And I think that's the important lesson for us as a federal coalition now, to be able to clearly articulate how we're going to impact their lives for the better coming out of COVID, reducing those cost of living pressures. We've already given back over $30 billion worth of tax cuts to the Australian public, $10 billion worth of childcare costs back to reduce the living costs of families out there. So it's about making sure we continue to articulate that, but also make sure that the levers we pull are ones that give a return on investment to the Australian taxpayer, because we've got a big debt now that has to be repaid, and we have to empower the economy to repay that. Governments won't repay that. Business will, and the Australian public will. And so it's important we put the environment infrastructure around them and show them how we can do that, how we can keep the cost of living pressures down and continue to provide the services we have.
There's one major event to come up before we get to the election being called, which is the federal budget. Can that spike some movement in the polls for you guys?
Well, look, I think this is about just getting down to what we do best, and that's about managing the economy. And I think that's what the budget will showcase, is exactly that we are good custodians of Australian taxpayers' money. We use it carefully. And when we do spend it on their behalf, we don't flitter it away on pink bats and school halls. We actually invest in infrastructure that will grow the pie. We give tax cuts. The other mob, we're going to bring $387 billion, I should say, worth of tax increases at the last election. So we're about making sure we empower the people to decide what they do with their money, because we believe that gives a better return to the Australian taxpayer and our economy. And so if we can get out of the way, put the environment infrastructure around them, spending their money properly, giving back as much of their money as we possibly can, then Australia does the heavy lifting for itself.
All right, to these allegations of bullying by the so-called mean girls, how can a party prosecute bullying and harassment allegations on the Conservative side of politics, but not when corroborated allegations are published about their own MPs?
Yeah, look, Chris, I've been reluctant to get involved in this, but until Senator Kitching's family and friends have brought to light many of these allegations, I think it is important for leadership. I think it is important for Anthony Albanese. This is his first real test to prove to the Australian public about how he would deal with these matters. If you compare and contrast, Scott Morrison let the sun shine in. He actually opened up the books. He had a full-on inquiry of all these matters and made sure that he put in place measures to rectify the issues that were identified. He didn't do it behind closed doors from within the Liberal Party. He opened up the books. He let the sun shine in. And then the first test of Anthony Albanese, he says, no, there's nothing to see here. I think this just shows that the last couple of years of this self-righteous, sanctimonious pile-on not only the Prime Minister but also ministers in trashing their reputations and their careers have been nothing more than about political expedience. And I think this is an opportunity for leadership. I think if you want to prove to the Australian public that you are going to address matters as serious as this, that we all have signed up to address, then you take the bull by the horns and you give that commitment. You look people square in the eye and you say, I'm going to fix it.
I would have thought so. Just repeating that Christina Keneally and Katie Gallagher and Penny Wong have said that those allegations are not true in a statement on Friday. Just briefly on Ukraine, Australia keeps giving and giving to this under siege nation, including now we're giving coal. Do we know whether our weapons and whether our humanitarian aid are going to the right place, are arriving on time, are being used effectively? Because we're committing a lot.
Yeah, look, the intelligence is that now over $90 million worth of lethal aid has hit the ground, and 65, I should say, has hit the ground, and the balance will now go out. And of the humanitarian, we are getting feedback that is starting to get in there. We're also issuing visas. We've issued over 4,500 visas, humanitarian visas. Only around 600 have been able to come in to Australia because of the travel restrictions the Ukrainian government has placed, and we respect that. So this is obviously a very fluid situation, and one in which we're working through with partners on the ground. But as we understand the intelligence we're getting back, it is going where we would expect it to, and we're having great confidence in that, and we'll continue to support. And we'll continue to impose those restrictions on the Russian government and their individuals. And in fact, we've also banned any export of alumina product. We represent around 20% of inputs into their aluminium products. So that will have an impact, and we'll continue to work collaboratively with the rest of the international community to make sure that no matter what we do has real effect, because it's in concert with the rest of the world.